Hey y'all, this is Angela, and welcome to the show Hodgepodge. This show is not about one thing, this show is about everything. Because in this old crazy world that we're living in, there is lots to discuss. So I hope you'll sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Now let's get started with today's episode. Hey y'all, it's Angela, and welcome to another episode of Hodgepodge with Angela. As I said, I am your host, Angela, and I am so glad you're here. I am just going to start today's show off by saying it. I'm going to say what a lot of people have probably had on their minds from time to time is that COVID world sucks. That's right, I said it. This new COVID world sucks. Once COVID started, and I'm going to say up front, I don't mean this to be political or anything like that. This is just experiences that I have had in almost 3 years since the COVID, as I like to call it, came into our lives. And so I got to give you a little background as to why I feel the way I do about this, about the new COVID world. I will say this too. I've had it twice, COVID, and my husband has had it twice. So I have been sick, luckily, and thank God, it was almost like the flu and we got over it and thank goodness. But I know there's a lot of people out there that lost loved ones, and I'm truly, truly sorry for your loss. But what I mean by the new COVID world sucks is just the change that we've all had to do once this pandemic started. So I have to give you a little background story as to why I feel so strongly about this. So, if you guys know anything about my history, you know that I used to travel a lot for work, pretty much every single week. And when the pandemic started happening and things started going on, we didn't really know what it was, what was happening. So my company pulled myself and all of the travelers in our department off the road, put us at home. I was traveling just about every week. I would leave on Monday and come home on either late Thursday night or Friday. And I love traveling. It does get a little tiresome, but I loved it. So my company pulled us off the road and we started working from home. Well, we thought, this is going to happen. What was it, 2 weeks to flatten the curve or whatever that saying was. But that 2 weeks never came. So myself and other team members, we were pretty much grounded. And when you're traveling so much, and anybody that travels for work, you know this, you get yourself into a routine. And like for me, I'd get up and I'd go to work, and sometimes I'd have to be in work 2:30, 3 a.m. I work all day. I come back to the hotel, I have dinner, take a bath, I go to bed. And I enjoy my me time. I did that for so long that I liked having the me time. I'd come home on the weekends, be with my husband and family and my dogs, and get all the loving in I could before it was time to go back on the road. But I enjoyed it. So when the travel stopped and I was at home, I thought I was going to lose my mind, y'all. I did. I mean, I was at home all the time because I worked from home, and then I was always at home because you couldn't go anywhere when the pandemic happened. You could go to the grocery store, and that was pretty much about it. The movie theaters closed and you just couldn't go anywhere. And so I literally thought I was going to lose my mind. I started getting depressed and was just, I got to do something. I got to do something. I got to do something. But there really wasn't anything I could do because no one else was doing anything else in the world either. So right before, well, it was probably about a year and a half into it when I was just on the verge of, I'm going to lose my mind. We're going to have to do something, hubby, because I'm going crazy. He made a joke about maybe you should take a knitting class. Well, at the time, no one was opening like Michael's and home. What's that other home show? Michael's and Joann's, none of them were taking classes. So I noticed a friend of mine on social media, she was like, okay, I started crocheting. I love it. So I thought, I crocheted many years ago, like in my 20s. So maybe I'll try that again. So I reached out to her and asked her if she was taking the class. And she said, nope, I just went straight to YouTube. So I go to YouTube and I pick out a couple videos and I start making blankets. And then I started making blankets and scarves and hats for everybody. And y'all, that crocheting really helped with my anxiety. I didn't feel so crazy anymore because at the time things were starting to open back up. I remember the first place we went when restaurants started opening back up, and it was the IHOP. And we couldn't wait to go to IHOP because my husband and I, we enjoy eating out. Because I do work from home, I like to get out. I have to get out. Even if it's just to go down the street to the Walmart, usually when I'm there for about 15 minutes, I'm ready to come home, but I have to get out. So the crocheting really helped with my anxiety while COVID was really, eliminating what we could do, the places that were opening and places and things that we could do and that kind of thing. So there were a lot of things that happened in my life during COVID or the pandemic and the lockdown. And I started doing my own nails. All the nail salons were shutting down and I was like, I can't go without my nails. Now I'm fat and I don't really do so much about that, but I want my hands to look good. If you guys followed me before, I had a nail page and I just started posting on my regular Instagram page now, which is the same name, Hodgepodge with Angela. But I posted all my nails and all that. But I found a company and it's called Revel Nail, and I'll put it in the description below. I do not get this is not a sponsored by them. It's just a company that I found. And I started using it, and I've been doing my nails for almost 3 years now because that's how long we've been in the pandemic, pretty much. Um, I started watching YouTube videos on how to do my nails, and sometimes they're better than what I've had done in nail salons. And I just had to stay with it. And, there were a lot of times, y'all, I changed my nails 3 times in 1 week when I first started doing it because my nails, I just wanted to look so good. I started coloring my own hair. If you watch those videos, you've seen that I do that. Now, I'm not a professional hairstylist or anything. And if you're messing with bleach and that kind of stuff, I don't recommend you doing it at home, but I have. Um, I've saved so much money, y'all, doing those things myself, my nails and my hair. Hubby B started gardening right after the pandemic hit because he was the same way. He's like, okay, we can't go anywhere, so I gotta get outside. And I don't mean he did a vegetable farm or anything like that. He just started planting some flowers and started watching a lot of videos on different type flowers. And he's gotten to where he really enjoys his roses and getting outside and doing all that because you couldn't go nowhere else. Um, so he started doing that, and I cleaned out my closet a couple of times. And y'all know that um, that's another thing I posted a while back is, cleaning out my closet because I'm going to have a new closet system put in and all that. And just started watching some new shows that I'd never watched before. And remember, I have physical media, so I can watch tons of old movies if I want to. But the COVID world stinks for me. I mean, it just, I don't know. Even now, it's like we get in the car to go somewhere to go eat, and you drive up and there's a note on the door that says drive through only, or you go somewhere and there's no one working because it has become acceptable now for places just to close because nobody's working. And that is a whole other podcast. It's just so infuriating that the number of jobs that are out there in this world and people are not working. It's so frustrating. And that's just wears on me. But we went to Applebee's one day, and I never can talk hubby B into going to Applebee's. But this particular day, he's like, okay, I'll give it a try. He just doesn't care for the food. I do. I love Applebee's, always have, but he is not a huge Applebee's fan. But this particular day, he said, okay, we'll go to Applebee's. And y'all, this is a true story I'm getting ready to tell y'all. So it was a Saturday, right about lunchtime. So it was maybe 11:45, something like that. So we pull up to Applebee's and we walk in the front door, and there's a couple standing there waiting. And there are two people at the bar, two patrons at the bar, and there's another table that there's maybe three people sitting there. So, and then the hostess was there, and then a bartender. So we go in, and the couple that's in line before us, they say 45 minutes. So I look at her and I said, 45 minutes for what? She said, to be seated. I said, to be seated? She said, yes. They're only taking in a few people at a time to come in, sit down, and eat. And then once those people that are at the bar or at the table leave, then they'll seat us. And we're like, what? They had no help. Absolutely no help. And I just don't understand. I just don't understand why people have not gone back to work. But anyway, so we leave Applebee's, and I'm just so upset because, that's the first time I can get him to go eat at Applebee's, and we can't get in. So then we leave, and I think he feels bad because I really wanted to go to Applebee's. So we drive down the road a little bit, and then there's Jimmy John's. I love Jimmy John's tuna sandwich. He's not a huge fan of it, but he went with me that day. Y'all, we go into Jimmy John's, and by this time it's probably 12:10, something like that, because Jimmy John's is just right down the road from Applebee's. We go in, they have no bread. They have no bread. How do you have no bread when all you do is make sandwiches? So they had no bread. And he said it would take about 30 minutes to make bread. So we were like, nope, not doing it. And by this point, we were just so frustrated. I think we ended up at Burger King. And it's just so frustrating because the COVID world has allowed all of this to happen. They've allowed these places or people not to work and people to not open. And I just don't understand it. Maybe if any of y'all are listening and you can share some insight as to why it's still the way it is. And I have a thought as to why it's still the way it is, but I can't say it because it's political. But the COVID world has brought some good things into my life. It brought the crocheting back, which with the crocheting, I am now making blankets. If you go over to my YouTube channel, which is under the same name, Hodgepodge with Angela, you'll see a couple of videos where I show some crochet items that I made. I just took a bunch of blankets to the local cancer treatment center for women. They take donations, and then I'm making a bunch of hats for my church because they take them to the Salvation Army in downtown Atlanta. And so I'm in the process of making that. So that's a good thing it brought. It's a good thing that it brought me how to do my own nails. And while I'm not a professional at that, I only do mine. But I've saved so much money, and I get to do them whenever I want to. I don't have to wait and sit in the salon for 45 minutes waiting on them to do somebody and then come to me. Now I still go and get pedicures because that is a luxury, but I still had to wait for the salons to open back up so I could go get a flipping pedicure. Same thing with getting my hair cut. I do color my own hair, but I do go to a salon and get my hair cut. And, they just recently opened, well, not just recently, but they have opened back up. And it's just the COVID world, it just stinks. I mean, the service when you go out to eat, as I said in an earlier podcast, if you haven't listened to it, it's the where we're going to eat or dining out. No, let's see, dining out on a budget. And I talk about how we give a COVID tip, and we give the same COVID tip, $10 at a minimum, no matter where we go. But the service has gotten crappy. I mean, we went somewhere the other day and the server was walking to the table like a turtle. And I'm like, really? You've got like two tables. Now, if we pay attention and we will notice if our server's working the whole restaurant, like we went to IHOP on Sunday and we noticed that our server was working the whole restaurant and she wasn't as nice as she could have been, but I know how it is working with the public, so I cut her some slack. But then we realized she was working the whole restaurant. And then somebody came in and kind of took over. So we sort of we pay attention to that. But all in all, it has not been a good 3 years. I mean, I thought I was going to have to be committed because I was going insane. You can't find any place to go eat. It's become acceptable for these restaurants to just close whenever. And I wonder sometimes about the restaurants. I wonder if like their management staff knows that they're really doing that. And I wonder if it's really true sometimes that they don't have staff, or are they just saying that they don't have staff so they don't have to like open up the restaurant and they just only do drive-through. I've wondered about that too. I'm not calling anybody liars, but you kind of have to wonder if that's what's going on because it's become so acceptable. But I don't know how y'all feel. I don't know if, you know, I don't know. I have to be careful with what I say, but for us and our household, the COVID world has sucked because we like to go out. As I said a couple podcasts ago, we enjoyed going to the movies. And most of the time when you go to the movies, there's nobody sitting around you anyway. So why did they have to stay closed so long? And the world has changed now. I mean, with the movies, a lot of these movies are coming out on streaming platforms. So it makes you wonder what's going to happen to the movie theaters, in the next couple of years. And then there were no movies coming out because people weren't working because of the pandemic and all this stuff. And I'm not diminishing it by any means. It just affected my life in so many ways. And I am saying poor, pitiful me because it was very, very stressful times for me personally. The good thing about it is I did find brought a hobby back. Started doing my own nails and my hair. And hubby B and I found out that I guess we have a really good, strong marriage because we were together all that time and we're still together. So, I just hope that, if you guys have felt any of this, call the hotline and let me know. My number is 404-939-7720, and I'll also put it in the description. But if you've kind of felt this way too, let me know. Let me know some of the things that you guys are doing that have helped you get through this. Have you cleaned your house top to bottom? My house is relatively clean. I keep it clean, pretty much. I've done all that. I've cleaned out the drawers and stuff because I'm a recondoed all those a while back, which they could use it. I just don't want to do those anymore. I want to do other things. I have a podcast that's going to come up in the next couple of weeks or talk about some other things I've done. And it's all because of the crappy new COVID world. But anyway, call in and let me know your thoughts. And maybe I'll share some of your thoughts if you guys have any. But as always, thank you for listening to my rambling. I enjoy these times with you guys, and I hope you'll share this with your friend. I hope that if you're not a follower of the show, you click that so when the new content is dropped or a new show is dropped, you will get that. And as always, thank you guys for listening. Until next time, this is Hodgepodge with Angela. Shine on, everybody, and bye.